The wind howled that night, louder than I had ever heard. It rattled the small wooden doors. I crouched behind our fence, clutching the lantern, watching the old baobab tree at the edge of the village. I didn't know why I felt so afraid of it tonight. It wasn't just me. Even the goats were uneasy. They stamped their hooves and bleated softly. I had heard the stories about the baobab, of course. Mama said it was the spirit tree, older than the oldest man in our village. But she also told me never to go there after sundown. She said the tree was alive, more than just roots and branches, and that it could see you in the dark, and yet, that night, as I held my breath behind the fence, I saw something that pulled me closer. There, under the tree, was a faint light. I squinted, and for a moment, I thought I saw something, moving around the base of the tree. It had the shape of a person, but its arms seemed longer than they should be, and its back was hunched in a way that made me shiver. I stepped back, wanting to run, but my feet wouldn't listen. Instead, they took a step closer. The lantern I held shook in my hand, casting trembling shadows on the ground. "Hello," I whispered, my voice barely louder than the wind. The figure stopped moving. Slowly, it turned, and two pale, hollow eyes looked right at me. I froze, heart pounding in my chest. The lantern slipped from my hand and clattered to the ground, the light flickering as it rolled. I couldn't scream. I couldn't breathe. Then, just as suddenly, the figure seemed to dissolve into the shadows, melting back into the base of the tree. The wind died down, the night went still, and the baobab stood there as silent and solid as ever. I stood there, alone in the quiet, my skin cold with fear. I knew no one would believe me, not even Mama. But from that night on, I knew the stories were true. The old baobab was alive, and it watched us all from the edge of the village, waiting, always waiting.